Hello to all my dear followers. I'm here to bring you a new fanfic to the channel. Welcome to the first chapter of What If Naruto Was a Pokemon Trainer. As always, I hope you like it, and I ask for your likes and comments so I can further grow this channel. Without further ado, I'll leave you with the fanfic.
Prologue. A saved life for a new world. As far as one can remember or acknowledge, there are numerous realms and dimensions inhabited by living beings. Some bear similarities between each other, while others sharply contrast, which makes them very unique. One of such worlds is inhabited humans alongside creatures called pocket monsters, more popularly known as Pokémon. These mysterious creatures are said to be capable of manipulating all sorts of powers known to humanity, and they come in many shapes, sizes, and even forms. These magical creatures can be found in every corner of the world where one would find themselves, soaring high in the skies, swimming along with the currents underseas, climbing along the craggy mountains, animating the green forest and grasslands. Heck, even the sprawling cities are teeming with them. As long as time immemorial, humans and Pokémon work together in harmony. For some, Pokémon are friendly playmates and cooperative workmates, while others would sometimes band together and do battles against those similar to them. However, as there is good, there are also evil. Unlike some humans who wish to live in harmony with Pokémon, there are others who seek to control Pokémon for their own selfish ambitions, which puts the very balance of the world itself at risk. But now a new story which will eternally be remembered in the Pokémon world is about to begin. It all starts in a small town called Pallet, which is located at the western side of the Kanto. One night, when many people had returned to their homes to rest after a hard day's work, a brown-haired woman wearing a blue dress with a white short-sleeved jacket and matching shoes was walking down the dirt path towards her home while enjoying the night breeze. This woman's name is Delia Ketchum. Suddenly, she heard rapid footsteps from behind her and turned around to see who or what it is. Turns out it's a quadruped rodent Pokémon with purple fur and large front teeth. A Rattata, to be precise. Delia was confused when the Pokémon stopped before her and started hopping up and down while chanting its name. "What is it? Are you trying to tell me something?" asked Delia curiously. "Ratatat rata ratata," the Pokémon chanted urgently, to even biting down on the hem of her dress and pulling it. "Oh, could it be that you want me to follow you?" Delia had a look of realization. "Rattata!" The rodent Pokémon nodded in affirmation before scampering off and making sure that she was following it. The duo made their way out of the town and towards the grassy plains, where Delia noticed more Rattata and even Pidgey were standing around, almost as if they were guarding something. The woman was just wondering what it is. Wah-wah! She suddenly stopped in surprise upon hearing the sound of crying. A baby's cry? And human one at that. She hastened her steps towards the source of the sound and saw more Pokémon gathered around, but paid little attention to them until arriving at a small clearing, and there in the middle was a baby wrapped on a bundle of cloth. Delia let out a gasp of shock and quickly went to carefully scoop it. Upon getting a closer look, she saw that it was a boy with blonde and strange whisker-like marks on his cheeks. The baby stopped crying and looked at her with sky-blue eyes which were full of curiosity. "Oh my, you have the most beautiful eyes I've ever seen," said the woman. The baby giggled as if happy at such a compliment and reached out with his stubby little hands to touch her face. That alone stirred a foreign feeling within her heart, the desire to care for him as if he was her own child. But that feeling was quashed for the moment upon wondering where his parents are and how he got there in the first place. She then heard something hit the ground and looked to see that it was a scroll. As much as she wanted to open the scroll and see what's inside, there were more important matters to attend to. "I must get you home before you catch a cold under this weather." Delia turned to the Pokémon. "You can all be proud of yourselves. Thank you for bringing me here." She received chirps and cries before bidding them farewell and making her way back into town. A few minutes later, Delia had arrived at her home, and by then the baby was fast asleep while holding on tightly to her dress, causing her to smile warmly as she sat on the couch in the living room. She looked over at the scroll and picked it up to unravel, only to be confused upon seeing a written language completely foreign. Then the next she knew was that the letters began to shift and change right before her eyes into a much more familiar language and began to read. "To whoever is reading this letter, my name is Minato Namikaze, the former Hokage, which is the leader of the Hidden Leaf Village, but now I detest that title with the same, going for my belated wife Kushina Uzumaki. Many years ago, there are 9 powerful entities called tailed beasts, and each village has one with mind possessing one called the QB, which was sealed into my wife when she was young. Both of us were married in secret due to my fame, but we were happy and expecting the birth of our son. But the problem was that seal is very weak when the female container goes into labor, and so I helped in keeping the seal secure while my wife gave birth safely. We were so overjoyed, but it didn't last when a masked stranger attacked and held my son hostage. I was able to rescue him, but the stranger captured Kushina and escaped only to unleash the Kyuubi to attack the village. I took both of them to safety before setting out to battle the mysterious stranger who had the power to control the Kyuubi. I was able to defeat him and disrupt his control on the beast, but it was still at large, so I had no other choice but to seal it inside my son due to him being an Uzumaki, which are the only kind to be able to serve as its container, but the ritual would cost me my very soul. I was originally planning to entrust him to the village and have him seen as a hero, but a few months earlier I had discovered a horrible truth. My predecessor and the elders had been wanting to turn Kushina into an emotionless weapon when she was the container of the beast, and I fear that they would attempt the same on him. And so my original plan was to transport my wife and son to another dimension so we can live happily until all this happened. So I wish to make this request shared between me and my wife. Please take care of Naruto in our stead. Give him the love we wouldn't be able to. Raise him with the loving care of a parent, please. Signed, Minato Namikaze, the Yellow Flash and a Loving Father. By the time she had finished reading, Delia was already crying. This world she just read about must be a cruel place for some people to do such times, and yet this man was willing to do everything to protect his family after discovering the horrid truth, to the point of sending his son far away from potential danger while containing a powerful beast within himself. She looked down at the baby to see him still asleep and held him close, and she felt her heart soar when he snuggled deeply in her arms. I'll honor you and your wife's request. I'll raise him with great love and care. I can even see it in his eyes. He might become one of the greatest Pokémon trainers in this world, said Delia as she gazed lovingly at Naruto. Chapter 1. A Day in the Life. The sun rises over Pallet Town as a majority of the residents woke up from their sleep to prepare for their daily activities, with flocks of Pidgey flying in the skies overhead. We turn our attention to a house within the town where inside we can find Delia Ketchum at the kitchen wearing a light yellow t-shirt, a pink apron, blue jeans and orange shoes as she's hard at work cooking up some breakfast. She turned away to look at the clock hanging on the wall and smiled softly. It's almost time for him to wake up soon, said Delia before returning her focus to the food being cooked on the stove. We now go up the stairs to the floor, then through a door into a room. On the left side of the door is a wooden cabinet with the right wall side bearing a coat rack. Further inside on the left corner of the room between two windows is a slight shorter cabinet with a TV on top and a stereo next to it. On the right side of the room is a wooden loft bed, which is just the top portion of a bunk bed, and the bottom has a desk built into it whilst having small bookshelves and bearing a laptop which is currently turned off. On the bed we find someone who is covered up with a blanket and fast asleep, but not for long. An alarm clock in the shape of an open pokeball started ringing loudly, causing the person to twitch and mumble drowsily as a hand reached out to press a button to stop it from ringing again. The blanket was pushed away to reveal a young boy with blonde spiky hair and blue eyes, with the notable thing about him being the 3 whisker markings on his cheek. He was currently wearing green and yellow pajamas with pokeball designs on them. The boy rubbed his eyes to shake of the grogginess as he climbed down the ladder and made his way out of the room to bathroom and took a nice hot bath to become fully awake, then returning to put on some clothes. He now wears a blue short-sleeve t-shirt with a sleeveless hoodie jacket over it, khaki shorts, blue wristbands, and blue and white sneakers. The boy ran down the stairs to the ground and into the kitchen, where he saw Delia already sitting at the table laden with pancakes, toast, and orange juice among the other basics of breakfast. "Good morning, Naruto. I can see you're up now," said Delia with a warm smile. "Good morning, Mom," Naruto responded with a foxy grin as he sat on the table. Ever since that night when Delia picked up Naruto from the bushes and learned of his origins, she took him in and had adopted the baby with him, taking on her name in addition to his. The time spent with him as he grew were more than precious to her. He's always excitable, curious, hyperactive, and very friendly, given how he easily got along with others in kindergarten, but can be very protective when he sees his friends being bullied. One thing she noticed is that Naruto absolutely loves Pokémon, and apparently they like him too. An example being the young Pokémon kept at the kindergarten perking up whenever he shows up to play with them and being sad whenever he leaves, much to the surprise of the teaching staff. However, not everyone is in good terms with Naruto, and many would try to bully him and his friends. that in turn awoken something within the boy which made them wish they never had. A prankster. The bullies would always find themselves on the receiving end of pranks, and no one can prove that it was Naruto who had actually been getting help from the wild Pokémon in his pranks. "So what will you be doing today, honey?" asked Delia. Naruto finished drinking a glass of orange juice before responding, "I'm going to Professor Oak's lab to have some fun with the Pokémon. He might also have some new cool stuff which has to do with Pokémon too." "Okay then, I'll pack a small lunchbox for you," said Delia. "Thanks, Mom." Naruto went back to eating his breakfast, then carried the dirty dishes to the kitchen sink, and he helped his mother with washing them. He went back up to his room to pack some items into a backpack before returning downstairs to find Delia waiting for him with a lunchbox in hand. "I'll be back later in the day. Be sure to send my regards to the professor for me," said Delia with a wave. "I will." Naruto waved back before running down the path towards his destination. He ran through the town while saying hello to the neighbors and was soon crossing a wooden bridge over a stream, then climbed up a flight of stairs towards a building at the top which has a wind turbine spinning slowly. Naruto opened the door and went inside to a hallway with several doors. He went to the end of the hallway and climbed up the stairs on the right to the first floor into a room full of technological devices like computers and so much than Naruto himself knows. There he found the person he was looking for. He is a middle-aged man with gray hair and wears a light maroon polo shirt underneath a white open lab coat, beige pants with a brown belt and brown loafers. "Hiya, Professor Oak," Naruto called out loudly. Said person turned around from his work and smiled upon seeing who it is. "Ah, Naruto. Good to see you, my boy. How's your mother?" "She's doing great and wanted me to send her regards to you," Naruto replied while walking up to the professor. "So what you doing?" "I'm currently researching on the levels of loyalty of the Growlithe and Arcanine towards trainers and non-trainers, if there's a difference between two factors. I'm quite interested to find out," said Professor Oak thoughtfully. "That sounds pretty interesting. Now you got me curious too," said Naruto. "Enough about that for now. I don't need to guess why you're among the many times you've been coming." Professor Oak spoke with a knowing smile. Naruto rubbed the back of his head with a sheepish grin. "Pretty much the same as usual," said Naruto. Oak has been familiar with Naruto since it was Delia who came to his lab and told him about everything which included his origin. Needless to say, but the man was knocked for a loop as this was outside anything related to Pokemon, but calmed down and decided to help as well as keep it a secret. Naruto quickly took to the professor and would always come to the lab to hang around or play with the Pokemon in the corral. It was quite surprising that Pokemon belonging to other Pokemon trainers were quite taken with him along with his own, making the young blonde an interesting research subject to check on from time to time. "Well, I shouldn't keep you waiting then. They're all out there waiting for you." "Thanks, Prof. I'll see you later." Naruto ran out of the room and down the stairs. He went to the back door of the lab and emerged into the Oak Corral, which is the place where the professor keeps all of the Pokemon belonging to trainers there. Naruto barely took 3 steps when something overshadowed him with flapping of wings being heard before landing on the ground behind him with a thump. Then he felt a pair of arms wrap around him and was lifted into air. Instead of panicking, Naruto laughed a bit from being hugged. "I guessed you missed me, huh? Dragonite?" He grunted a bit from the hug, tightening a bit, before looking up at the draconic bipedal Pokemon with light orange skin. "Dragoo!" Dragonite nodded with an eye smile before putting Naruto back on the ground. This happens to be one of Oak's Pokemon during his trainer day before retiring to become a Pokemon professor. Dragonite was present when Delia introduced Naruto as a baby and became rather caring more than normal when other children would come to visit the corral. There were times Dragonite would fly over to Delia's home to act as a self-appointed babysitter, which Delia was willing to allow, so it was no surprise that Naruto got attached to it. "How about we go and see the others?" asked Naruto, getting a nod from Dragonite and placing him on its back and flying deeper into the corral before landing atop a grassy hill. They didn't wait too long when pattering of feet could be heard and a variety of Pokemon appeared running towards them, being Oddish, Rattata, Pidgey, Doduo, etc. "Hey guys, whoa!" Naruto got tackled to the ground and ended up being dogpiled on. Okay. I missed you all too. Please calm down. Dragoo." Dragonite didn't like how they were being rough with Naruto and pulled him out of the heap with a small frown on its face, getting the Pokemon to look a bit ashamed. "Don't be too hard on them. They're just happy to see me," said Naruto in a placating manner. Dragonite wasn't entirely convinced but accepted nonetheless. "Anyways, Let me tell you what's been going on since I last came to play you guys. He began telling them what he had been doing at school and at home along with the pranks he played on the school bullies and how nobody is still not able to prove that he was the one with the Pokémon laughing. Then he played a few games with them before sharing his lunch, if only a bit. I almost forgot to tell you guys, I'll be going to a summer camp in a week's time where I'm going to learn a lot more about Pokémon. One of my many steps to becoming a Pokémon trainer. One of the Oddish poked his legs with one of its leaves to draw his attention. Oddish, odd. I don't know how long I'll be gone, but I'll be back before you know it. Naruto looked at the watch on his wrist to check the time and was rather surprised. Wow, look at the time. I gotta get home. Now don't look so glum. I'll be coming back tomorrow, okay? He cheered the Pokémon up when he noticed their being sad. He was about to leave when Dragonite scooped him and placed him on its back. You want to carry me home? DRA. Dragonite nodded in affirmation to his question. All right then, let's go. Naruto cheered happily as Dragonite began flapping its wings and took to the air with him, holding on tightly. Then it flew in direction of Naruto's home and landed at the front door for Naruto to jump off. Thanks for the ride. Be sure to tell the others I'll back tomorrow. He giggled when Dragonite nuzzled against his cheek before taking to the air again and returned to the oak corral. Naruto entered the house and called out loud, Moom! I'm home. I'm in the living room, sweetie. Delia called out. Naruto headed to said place and found her watching a soap opera. Then she turned and greeted him with a smile. Welcome home. And how was your day at the professor's lab? It was a lot of fun. And the Pokémon really missed me, especially Dragonite. Naruto plopped on the sofa next to her. Well, it's to be expected since you always go there to play with them. Keep it up and you might steal their attention away from their trainers, said Delia playfully. Oh, come on, Mom. I wouldn't do that. Plus, in the future, I'll also be getting more friends when I become a Pokémon trainer. That's true. Now go and wash up for dinner, then we can talk afterwards about the summer camp next week, said Delia. Okay. Naruto jumped off the sofa and made his way to his home to change, then take a bath. Afterwards, he came back down to have dinner with Delia. The week had finally arrived and Naruto was currently standing in a group of children around his age as they waited for the bus hired to transport them to the campground. Naruto's ears picked up faint sounds of grumbling and glanced to the side and caught sight of some boys whom he recognized to be the class bullies are glaring at him. Feeling mischievous, Naruto turned towards them and silently mouthed the words, I will be pranking you, which caused them to widen their eyes in fear before shuffling away, much to his amusement. Hey, Naruto! He turned towards the source of the voice to see a girl approaching him. She has brown hair which reaches up to the back of her neck. She wears a light green short-sleeved blouse, yellow skirt with large orange flowers reaching to her shin, and a pair of blue sandals. I thought it was you. Hi, Alif. I was wondering where you are, said Naruto, happy to see his childhood friend. They spent a lot of time both in and out of school, and Naruto would at times bring her along to the oak corral to play with the Pokémon too. My mom was making sure that I had everything I needed for the summer camp. I just placed my bags down and came looking for you, said Leaf with a smile, but then it turned into a frown. But he too has come along to the summer camp. Ugh. Should have figured that he would be coming along too because of the professor. Naruto rolled his eyes at the thought of the subject of their conversation. Honk honk. Everyone turned to see a yellow bus arrive into town and stop before the group, meaning that this was their transport to the Pokémon summer camp, so the children, including Naruto and Leaf, began boarding the bus, whilst the adults were packing the bags into the luggage before setting off their destination. It took some time on the road, but the bus had finally arrived at its destination and everyone disembarked to view the area. It was a large campsite comprising of a large building, and there were multiple wooden cabins in the distance. A playground amongst other things they've yet to see, but the area is surrounded with a wooden fence. Naruto and Leaf took their bags from the bus and were led along with the group to the building where other children were already there. I can't wait to learn more about Pokémon, said Leaf excitedly. Me too. And I'll know how to make my future Pokémon the best the world has ever seen. Naruto pumped a fist with gusto. I told I saw a whiskered face around here. Naruto and Leaf growled at the sound of an annoyingly familiar voice as they turned round to a boy with auburn hair wearing a light blue t-shirt with red trims, brown shorts and red tennis shoes. I figured that you would show up here. Hello, Gary, said Naruto with a deadpanned expression. He is the grandson of Professor Oak, so of course they would have encountered each other long ago, and needless to say they don't really get along that well. Gary's arrogance tends to rub Naruto the wrong way, and he would use his knowledge to lord over him since everyone was aware that Naruto isn't exactly a scholastic type of guy but actually makes up for that with practicality. Something Gary is jealous of with how the blonde so easily interacts with both tamed and wild Pokémon. Almost as if he is a Pokémon magnet. Because of that, Gary ended up calling him Pokeboy, which really irritates Naruto and Leaf. "What do you want?" asked Leaf. "I just came around to check out the competition, which aren't that much at all," said Gary nonchalantly. "You just wait and see, Gary, when we become Pokémon trainers. Then we'll see who exactly is competition," said Naruto with a look of challenge. "We'll just have to see, Pokeboy," said Gary smugly. "Stop calling him that," said Leaf angrily, drawing the attention of some children. "Gonna be a while till I get tired of the nickname. Era. Now what might be the cause of this state of unrest?" A feminine voice called out softly to the group. They turned to see a pale-skinned girl with long black smooth hair reaching the upper part of her back. She wears a white kimono with large sleeves and a long hem with light blue snowflake designs on it. Has a pale blue obi wrapped around her waist which is attached to a large bow on her back, and wears black geta over white knee socks. "Nothing to worry yourself over. Just telling these guys that I'm gonna be the best," said Gary. "But I do wish that you be more polite to others. It won't speak well of you if that persona persists," said the girl. "She's right, you know. That kind of attitude will draw in enemies and push away comrades." Another feminine voice spoke up. This time is a girl with darkened skin and short brown hair. She wears a black t-shirt with a yellow lightning bolt emblem and a yellow vest worn over it, khaki-colored capri pants, and cream/black/yellow shoes with black laces. "Humph. Doubt they could do anything to me by then. I'll smell you two later, Leaf and Pokeboy." Gary walked away with a flippant wave much to their annoyance. "You shouldn't have bothered with that guy. He's always been that way as long as we've known him," said Leaf with a small frown. "Even so, there's no harm in trying to convince him to change for the better. I had forgotten to introduce myself. My name is Aya Guzan and it is a pleasure to meet you all," said the kimono girl with a polite bow. "And my name's Jinchio Tachibana. Nice to meet you," said the dark-skinned girl. "Well, my name's Naruto U.N. Ketchum and this is my best friend Leaf Green." Naruto introduced himself with Leaf waving hello to the girls. "So what is it that brought you here to summer camp?" asked Leaf curiously. "I wanted to catch a break from all the training my brother had been giving to me. Plus I wanted to meet up with Aya after all this time too," said Jinchio. "Indeed. My mother also wanted me to come to camp to make acquaintances with others, and I personally wanted to come and enjoy the scenery with the Pokémon," said Aya. "We came because we want to learn more about Pokémon trainers and my dream is to become a Pokémon master," said Naruto, pointing a thumb at himself. "I haven't decided on what I want yet, but I plan to travel around the world to meet different people and learn about things I never knew." "What about you girls?" asked Leaf curiously. "We're both heiresses from well-known families. Jinchio is from the Tachibana family, which originate from the era of samurai in the Johto region, and I am from the Usuji clan, who are also from the same era in the Sinnoh region," said Aya. "Then that makes you two nobles. You're kinda different from what I've heard and read about," said Naruto thoughtfully. "Of course we aren't. We have pride but won't let it go to our heads." "Too bad there are some like that," said Jinchio with a scoff. "That's good to hear. You two are too nice to be stuck up," said Naruto with a foxy grin. Aya raised an armed sleeve to her mouth as she giggled, Era. "What a nice thing for a gentleman such as yourself to say." Jinchio slung an arm around Naruto's shoulder as she smirked. "I like you already. Something tells me that we're going to get along just fine. Hey guys, the counselor is calling us over." Leaf spoke up for them to hear. "Come on. Let's find out where we'll be sleeping, then we can explore this place for a bit," said Naruto, picking up his bag. "I'm with you on that one," said Jinchio. "I would like to accompany as well," said Aya. "All right, let's go." Naruto nodded in affirmation before the newly formed group approached the counselor to be assigned to the cabins for their stay in the camp. Time went by in the camp as Naruto, Leaf, Aya, and Jinchio participated in many activities together and were having a lot. The group also got to learn more about each other as time went. Jinchio takes pride in her achievements and strongly believes in honor, but would be utterly outraged at the sight of dishonorable acts and will not forgive so easily. She also has a love for electric-type Pokémon. Aya is always calm and composed no matter what occurs and would never lose her cool. She likes taking things at a steady pace and not too fond of being rushed in the least. And she also likes ice Pokemon too. The two learnt a lot of things about Naruto and Leaf, especially the former. Aya is quite fond of Naruto's excitable nature and sunny disposition, as it in a way harmonizes with hers, and so would often invite him to strolls just to be within his presence. Jinchio came to discover that Naruto is curious about a lot of things and barely sits still. One time she showed him some basic katas taught to her with a stick and Naruto wanted to give it a try. The next thing she knew was that he emulated her katas perfectly, which shocked her. She asked if he had done any combat training and was surprised when he said no and that this was his first time and wanted to know more. Jinchio was hesitant to teach as it goes against the rules of her clan, and so just taught him the more common moves to at least bend the rules a bit, although she didn't know exactly aside from the fact that Naruto treats her like an equal and not her position. Naruto once said that Jinchio and Aya are good friends and doesn't care if they're heiress to clans, which surprised both of them and made them happy as well. Naruto himself was having a lot of fun with the girls. He often goes exploring in the woods with them and show them how to care for the Pokemon, which were kept to teach the campers the practicality of caring for them. He and Jinchio would play competitive games to one-up the other. Aya often invites him for strolls and casual conversations about things in the Sinnoh region, much to his ever-growing curiosity. Leaf is often with him during those times, though he tends to catch glimpses of them pouting at each other from time to time and would feel a bit confused at that. Soon a week was gone, and they're drawing to the end of the time spent in the summer camp. So the counselors decided on one more activity. All right, everyone. I'm sure you all know that there's 3 days left to the end of the Pokemon summer camp, so we decided on one last activity, and that is a Pokemon scavenger hunt, said the counselor. 3 days left, huh? Naruto muttered quietly. To him it mean that he'll be saying goodbye to his new friends, and it really bothered him. Now we'll be putting you all into teams of 2 and picture of the Pokemon, which you 2 are to find and bring back the tags attached to them here. Whoever does so first are the winners. The counselor held out a box full of paper. Now step forward and pick out a paper which will align you with your partner, then let the scavenger hunt begin. Naruto went to pick out a piece of paper and waited for his partner, who soon showed up, revealing to be a boy with black hair less spiky than his, and wearing a black t-shirt with a red Pokemon logo on the front and camo cargo shorts with a pair red and black sneakers. The boy approached with a smile on his face. Guess we're partners in Naruto? Asked the boy. Pretty much so, Kuro. Let's go win this thing and show Gary what for, said Naruto with a smirk. He met Kuro a few times and became friends as they had some things in common. They really love Pokemon and dislike snobby people like Gary. So the duo set off into the forest with a bag in hand to begin their quest. Elsewhere, a young girl with short brown hair wearing a pink dress with pink Mary Jane flat and a straw hat with a pink bow tied around it was walking through the forest looking very lost. The person she was partnered with suggested that they split up to search for the items and left before she could anything, leaving her alone to wander about aimlessly. Where is everybody? Is anyone there? Hello? The girl called with the growing feeling of unease. Suddenly the bushes in front of her started rustling, which startled her. She turned to run but tripped herself, yelping when she fell to the ground. She looked back at the bush in fear as the rustling grew louder. Then a Pokemon jumped out and landed by to reveal it to be a Poliwag. It looked around for a bit and saw the girl, who recoiled a bit before it hopped away deeper into the forest. I knew that I didn't want to come here at all, Mommy. Tears gathered at her eyes as she laid there all alone. The bush started rustling again, causing her to look back, wondering and hoping that something scary wouldn't appear again. The bush rustled louder, and she looked away with her eyes closed and tears streaming down her cheeks. I know I saw it come this way. Hello, are you okay? A voice spoke up, getting the girl to open her eyes and look to see a boy with spiky blonde and blue eyes. Hi, my name's Naruto Ketchum. What's the matter? I hurt my leg, said the girl, looking down at the bruise on her left knee. I see. Then it's a good thing I brought this along. Naruto reached into his pocket and took out an orange handkerchief and wrapped it around the bruise, then made sure that it was well tied. There you go. It's my lucky handkerchief, and it's sure to make your leg feel better. She tried to move but couldn't because of the pain. It still hurts. I can't stand up. Come on now, never give up until the very end. It's best to keep trying with everything you've got than not at all. Naruto pointed a thumb at himself with a wink. That's how I roll. So let's keep trying, okay? This time I'll help. Naruto held a hand out to her. The girl stared at the gesture for a moment before gladly accepted it, but was surprised when she was suddenly pulled up to a standing position and stumbled into his arms in a hugging position of sorts. The girl stood back to look at the blonde who was grinning at her. "See? You stood up with you second try," said Naruto happily. "I did, thank you," said the girl with a shy smile. "No problem. Let's get you back to the campgrounds so we can have the counselors take a look at it." Naruto turned to guide her out of the forest when he heard her mumble something. What's the matter? "My name is Serena," said the girl with tinge of pink on her cheeks. "It's nice to meet you, Serena. Now let's get you out of here," said Naruto with a foxy grin. "Okay." Serena nodded shyly. "He's so nice." "Hey, Naruto," a voice called out before emerging from the bushes to reveal Kuro. "There you are? Where have you been? I thought you were going after Poliwag." "I was, but then I saw Serena hurt and I'm helping her back to the campgrounds for the counselors to check on her injury," Naruto explained. "I see. Then you go on ahead while I try to find that Poliwag. It's the last thing on the list anyway," said Kuro. "Thanks, Kuro, you're a real pal." "Thank you very much," said Serena. "No thanks necessary, now get going," said Kuro with the duo walking past him in direction of the campgrounds. However, none of them noticed that Kuro's eyes were glowing with some strange blue energy when he looked back at them. So he really is the one that the world latched onto and brought here. His potential for bonds with Pokémon will be more than enough for me to pass on that. Sometime later, the scavenger hunt was finally over, and surprisingly the winners were Leaf and Jinchio, with Naruto and Kuro in second place and a sulking Gary and his partner in third. Naruto introduced Serena to the others, and it took a while until they got her out of her shell and become comfortable with them. Serena got along well with Leaf and Aya, as she's not too used to Jinchio's personality that much. But soon the 3 days were other, and the time had come for them to go their separate ways. Naruto and the girls were currently standing at the parking area with the buses and Eris's limo waiting for them. "I guess this is it, huh?" said Naruto silently. "Yeah," said Leaf, looking down on the ground. "It saddens me that we must depart like this," said Aya. "She's right. Wish it would have lasted longer," said Jinchio. "At first I didn't want to come to this summer camp, but now I don't want to leave," said Serena. "It doesn't have to be that way," Naruto spoke up, drawing their attention. "We can always keep in contact on the video phones. And when Leaf and I become Pokemon trainers, then I'll be sure to come to Johto, Sinnoh, and Kalos to see you all again." Hearing this made everyone cheerful, especially with his second sentence. "You're right, you all better grow fast and visit soon," said Jinchio. Era. That gives me plenty of time for your welcome," said Aya. "I hope to see you all again," said Serena, smiling softly. "We definitely will, right, Naruto?" Leaf to said blonde, who gave them a foxy grin and a thumbs up. "That's right. It's a promise of a lifetime." Naruto held out a pinky finger. The others linked theirs with his. "Honk honk. It's time to go," the counselor called out, and everyone began entering the buses. "Goodbye for now," said Aya. "Goodbye," said Serena. "Yeah, see you later," said Naruto. Everyone got into their assigned vehicles and rode away to take different routes. Up on the hills was Kuro, and he was wearing a black cloak. He gazed down at the bus transporting Naruto and Leaf before smiling as he put on the hood to shroud his face and walked away, with his body getting taller by each step until reaching the height of a grown adult. "Hope you train yourself well, kiddo. I'm betting my cards on you," said Kuro in a much deeper voice before he was engulfed in a thick mist and disappeared. Chapter 2. The Beginning and an Awakening. And Nidorino begins the battle with a horn attack. Oh, but Gengar bounces right back with a hypnosis attack. This could be the end of Nidorino. But wait, the trainer recalls Nidorino. Which Pokemon will he use now? Announcer spoke with excitement as he, along with the spectators, were witnessing an intense battle between two trainers and their Pokemon within a stadium. Oh, it's Onix. Now Giant Pokemon is on the attack, but Gengar jumps aside. Gengar is moving beautifully today. Its training is top-notch, no doubt about it. The camera zooms out to reveal the match being shown from a TV as a 12-year-old, soon-to-be 13 Naruto sitting on the bed watching it with excitement in his eyes. Oh man. Seeing those guys duke it out on the field with their Pokemon makes me wish that tomorrow should just hurry up and come already. I've been waiting all this time, and soon I'll be able to go on a Pokemon journey. Ever since the time he was at the summer camp, Naruto requested Professor Oak and his mother to teach anything and everything that could help him on his forthcoming journey. Delia took to teaching him about how to cook both normal food and Pokemon food, how to treat injuries amongst the many basics of survival. Professor Oak also taught him about what is needed to be known about Pokémon as well, and was happy to do so as Gary outright refused his teachings and preferred to do things on his own, much to his disappointment. Naruto himself took to training his body in preparation for the journey, as he had seen many trainers who had passed through the though while covered in dirt and slightly worn clothes to show that they had gone through a lot of places which would be hard to reach by normal, and it strengthened his desire to go to such places and find possibly rare Pokémon over there. Naruto had also been keeping in contact with Serena, Jinchio, and Aya through the videophone. He often tends to blush whenever he looks at the girls, as they had all grown to become beautiful, and they're well aware of his poor attempts to hide his reactions and found it cute. I've trained and learnt so many things for that day. Soon I'll travel around the world to catch Pokémon and be their friend. Then we'll go from league to show everyone that we're going to be the very best that no one has ever been. The ultimate Pokémon master and the ultimate Pokémon, said Naruto with gusto. Suddenly the door was opened and Delia came in with a small frown on her face. Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze Ketchum, do you have any idea what time it is? Asked Delia sternly. Naruto turned towards the alarm clock on the table to see that it was 11 o'clock in the evening and chuckled sheepishly. Sorry, Mom. I was just feeling excited about tomorrow that I couldn't sleep. Delia walked over to the table and picked up a black TV remote. Well, if you can't sleep yet, then at least watch this to get ready for tomorrow. She changed the channel to an educational program, showing Professor Oak giving a lecture about the Kanto starters, which beginning trainers will be starting out with tomorrow. Be sure to go to bed when this is done. Okay, Mom. I will, said Naruto, watching the program with rapt attention, with Delia closing the door. Greetings, aspiring young Pokémon trainers. My name is Professor Oak, and I will be teaching you about the basics of Pokémon and the Pokémon you will be starting out. Their names are Bulbasaur, the grass/poison-type Pokémon, Charmander, the fire-type Pokémon, and Squirtle, the water-type Pokémon, said Professor Oak as he began the lecture. Naruto paid attention to the lecture until it ended, then he turned off the TV. He changed into his pajamas and went to bed before letting sleep overwhelm him in anticipation for tomorrow. He dreamt that he was journeying along a road with his Pokémon when he heard rustling from a bush nearby and quietly approached it. Then he saw a pair of red eyes peering through the bushes and stared at him intently, which made Naruto feel uncomfortable and slowly backed away, but the eyes followed his every movement before suddenly disappearing. The blonde was suddenly roused from his sleep and looked out through the window to see that the sun had already risen and the Dodrio were cawing out loud. Naruto got off the bed and quickly went to take a bath before changing into his new clothes. He wore a black long-sleeve t-shirt which he rolled the sleeves back to his elbows. Over it is an unzipped sleeveless orange jacket, a pair of trousers with pouches at the thighs, and a pair of black fingerless gloves and shoes with an orange strip in the middle. Refer to the cover image. Naruto quickly went downstairs and made his way out of the house, but not before calling out to his mom. I'm heading to the lab. I'll be back soon, said Naruto. Okay, honey. I'll have breakfast ready by then, Delia called back. Naruto ran along the path with great speed thanks to his daily training, and was soon arriving close to the Pokémon lab and saw that a large crowd had gathered there. He noted a convertible with Gary along with a group of cheerleaders driving away with a cocky grin on his face. Seriously? How is one supposed to catch a Pokémon while driving a car? Naruto muttered to himself, then he went through the crowd and up the stairs to enter the building to the research room to find Professor Oak waiting there, next to the table where the starter Pokémon are stored. Hi, Professor Oak. I came here for my Pokémon to journey together with. Naruto, it's good to see you. There might be a problem though. Gary along with Leaf and Red had arrived earlier than you and acquired the Kanto starters, said Professor Oak sheepishly. What? But I woke up early to come here. There really isn't any left for me? Asked Naruto in shock. He wasn't expecting this at all. Actually, there's a Pokémon in the reserves which I could give to you if you want. I'll take it, said Naruto excitedly. Doesn't really matter to him if it isn't a starter, as he'll befriend it regardless. Very well then, just be careful as it can be quite feisty. Professor Oak let out a warning, then he pushed a button. A panel opened up in the middle of the starter table for a Pokeball with a yellow lightning bolt to rise up. Naruto picked up the Pokeball for it to open up for a beam of white light to shot out and strike the table before materializing a Pokémon. It is a short, chubby rodent Pokémon covered in yellow fur with 2 horizontal brown stripes on its back. It has long yellow ears that are tipped with black. On its cheeks are 2 circle-shaped red pouches. and its large tail is shaped like a lightning bolt with a path of brown fur at the base. Pikachu! The Pokémon squeaked out as it looked around before setting its eyes on Naruto. This is Pikachu, which is also known as the electric mouse. It's usually shy but sometimes can have an electrifying personality, said Professor Oak. I recall you teaching me about it. Naruto bent down to eye level with Pikachu and smiled fondly. Hello, Pikachu. My name is Naruto and I'm glad to meet you. I hope we can be friends. Pika? Pikachu turned away with a huff, not wanting anything to do with the human, although it couldn't help but take a glance at the markings on his cheeks, which reminds it of those feline-type Pokémon. I told you that this one's feisty, said Professor Oak. I know, everyone has their quirks, but I want to show Pikachu that I can be a good friend and partner on my Pokémon journey, unlike some trainers who don't care about how their Pokémon feel, said Naruto with a small frown. Pikachu's ears twitched upon hearing that and turned to stare into the blonde's eyes for any signs of deception, and was surprised to see him stare back without blinking and showed no hesitation. Just give me one chance, Pikachu, to prove that I can be a good trainer. If not, then I'll free you and quit being a Pokémon trainer. Pikachu looked at Naruto for a few more minutes before slowly nodding, Pika. Naruto smiled brightly at that. Thanks, Pikachu, you won't regret it. He turned towards the professor. I'll go and say my goodbyes to Mom before setting out. All right then, Naruto. Take these along with you. Professor Oak held out the regional Kanto Pokédex, Generation 3 version, and 6 Pokeballs which included Pikachu's, and I wish you good luck on your journey. Naruto took the items and put them in their assigned places. Thanks, Prof. Now Pikachu read, Huh? He held out the Pokeball to return Pikachu when he saw it look tense. What is it? Then he noticed Pikachu glaring at the Pokeball. Could it be that you don't like going into the Pokeball? Pika. Pikachu nodded in affirmation. I see. Then in that case I won't force you, said Naruto. Pikachu was beginning to see that this human is indeed different from the others it had seen and was liking it. The lightning mouse jumped up to Naruto's shoulder, causing him to smile. Let's head over to my house first to get my gear, then say goodbye to my mom. Pikachu! Naruto left the lab and was cheered on by the crowd, and he politely waved at them before making his way back home and went inside for find his mom waiting for him patiently in the kitchen. Hello, honey. Welcome back, said Delia with a smile. Hi, Mom. This is my new friend and partner Pikachu, said Naruto. Pika. Pikachu waved a paw to say hello. Aw, isn't he cute? Delia petted Pikachu, making it let out a soft cha in bliss. Well, breakfast is on the table, so let's eat before it gets cold. Okay, Mom. The group sat down at the table and helped themselves to the meal set before them. Pikachu came to discover that his trainer's mother is a great cook and wondered if he could cook just as good. Naruto himself was enjoying the breakfast and couldn't help that this would be last time he will be eating his mother's cooking in a long time till he returns. All done. I'll be heading to my home to pack up my gear. Okay, when you're done, I have something for you, said Delia. Naruto nodded in affirmation, then he went upstairs to his room with Pikachu following him. Then proceeded to pack items such as potions, ropes, rubber gloves, utensils, etc. into a black backpack with a yellow square label and slings with black adjusters on it. The backpack has 2 pockets and 2 open compartments on each side. The main bigger pocket is delimited by a black zip fastener, while the external pocket has an orange stripe on it. Now where did I put it? There it is. Naruto walked over to the dresser and took out a pair of goggles with orange-tinted lens stylized to that of a headband which he tied to his forehead with the locks of his hair hanging over it. He heard a small rumble and turned only to smile upon seeing Pikachu come out from the dresser while wearing a hat which he had received from the Pokémon League in an expo after sending a postcard. It is a red and white hat with a green stylized L on the front. I guess you like it, huh, Pikachu? Pika. Pikachu seemed to fancy the hat. Well, you can have it. Had gotten that one out of luck and didn't have much use for it. Naruto picked up the backpack. Let's go, Pikachu. Pikachu hopped up to his shoulders, and they went downstairs to see Delia waiting for them in the sitting room. There you are, honey. This is for you. Delia held out what appears to be a large blue handheld device in the form of a flip top while possessing with dual screens with the bottom being a touchscreen. This is the latest Poke Gear from the Johto region. I had it specially ordered for you. It acts as a phone, map, and a radio if you acquire the EXPN card from the radio tower in Lavender Town. You can use it, call me at any time, which I hope you do often when out there. Naruto smiled warmly at her thoughtfulness and hidden worry for him. He took the poke-gear before embracing Delia and felt her hugging him. "I'll definitely make you proud of me, Mama." Delia tightened her grip around him upon hearing that. It was the first words he had ever said to her, and he calls her that whenever he is being very affectionate with her. "I'm already proud of you. Now get going." "Oh, and don't forget to change your underwear," said Delia. "I know that already. I'm 13 years old." Naruto ran off with Pikachu laughing at his moment of embarrassment. Delia looked on with tears in her eyes, but knows in her heart that he will return with a smile on his face. Naruto and Pikachu were currently walking along the dirt path away from Pallet Town, with their next stop being Viridian City to acquire any new info just in case of anything. Naruto then spoke up for Pikachu to hear. "Now that we are out here, let's see what info that the Pokédex has about you," said Naruto. Pikachu hopped of Naruto's shoulder and stood the ground for him to take out the device, then pointed at him to scan. Then it spoke in a robotic voice. "Pikachu, the mouse Pokemon. It occasionally uses an electric charge to recharge a fellow Pikachu that is in a weakened state. This Pikachu is male with the ability static. Moves: Tackle, Quick Attack, Thundershock, Agility. That's a pretty decent moveset for the meantime. I'll make plans for you to learn more moves, but we'll focus more on body conditioning." Naruto took note of Pikachu looking confused at what he just said and so explained further. "What I mean is that we need to work on strengthening body so you have more stamina to last longer in battles, accuracy to hit your targets, speed to counter and defend. All these are what help bolster any moves taught or learnt. Do you get it now?" Pikachu. Pikachu nodded in understanding, seeing the logic in what his trainer is talking about. Then their ears picked up the sound of wings flapping above them and looked to see what it is. It's a raptor-like avian Pokemon with brown feathers and a cream-colored face. Underside and flight feathers. It has a crest of pinkish-red feathers on its head and black angular markings behind its eyes. The plumage of its tail has alternating red and yellow feathers with ragged tips, with its beak and legs colored pink. It's a Pidgeotto. That's a rare sight around these parts. Let's catch it, Pikachu, said Naruto excitedly. Pikachu. Pikachu took off his hat to give to Naruto before hopping off his shoulder and landed on all fours with his cheeks sparking with electricity. The avian noticed that it was being challenged and so swooped towards Pikachu at high speed with white energy trailing behind it. It's using Quick Attack. Use Agility to dodge and then use Thundershock, Naruto called out. Pikachu moved like a blur to evade the attack, then launched a blast of electricity which struck Pidgeotto for a super effective hit. Pidgeotto hung tough and started flapping its wings quickly to create a strong current of wind, which sent Pikachu tumbling back, but managed to recover. Stay strong, buddy. Now use Quick Attack while using that tree over there as a ramp. Pikachu took off at high speed with white energy trailing behind him as he ran up the tree, then launched off the branch towards Pidgeotto and slamming into it, but the bird Pokemon retaliated by smacking him away with a wing glowing with white energy. Suddenly, arcs of electricity coursed through its body, which made it difficult for it to move. It's paralyzed. Let's finish this by using Thundershock, said Naruto while taking off a Pokeball and pressing a button to make it larger. Pikachu! Pikachu gathered his energy and fired a blast of electricity to strike Pidgeotto, damaging it to the point that the bird Pokemon crashed to the ground and struggled to get back up. This is it. Go Pokeball! Naruto threw the Pokeball to hit Pidgeotto as it opened up and sucked the Pokemon within it in the form of red energy before closing up and clattered to the floor. The trainer and Pokemon watched with bated breath as the ball rocked once, twice, thrice, then it let out a ding sound to signal. Naruto smiled widely and ran over to pick up the Pokeball before tossing it into the air and catching to hold before him. All right, Pidgeotto has been captured. Hi, Pikachu. Pikachu happily did a victory sign, then took the hat back from Naruto to wear it. Naruto's Pokédex beeped before speaking. Pidgeotto, the bird Pokemon and the evolved form of Pidgey. It renders its prey immobile using well-developed claws, then carries the prey more than 60 miles to its nest. This Pidgeotto is female with the ability Keen Eye. Moves: Tackle, Gust, Quick Attack, Wing Attack. This is great. We haven't gone that far and we already have a new friend with us, said Naruto happily. Pikachu cheerfully nodded in affirmation. Now let's get you two patched up with a potion here, then we move on. He was about to reach for the potions in one of the side pockets when something swooped towards Pikachu, whom he quickly scooped out of the way before the mouse got blindsided by whatever that blur was. They looked to see that it was a small avian Pokémon with rough brown plumage on its head and 3 brown feathers. It has narrow dark brown eyes with white pupils and a short, hooked beak. The feathers covering its wings are pinkish red with lighter tips, and it has a beige underside with 2 thin horizontal stripes. Black feathers cover its back and has light pink feet. Spearow! The Pokémon screeched while glaring at them. That's a Spearow, but why is it attacking us? Asked Naruto confusedly. Wild Pokémon tend to be jealous of human-trained Pokémon, said the Pokédex. Oh, come on. That's being unreasonable. The Spearow swooped towards Pikachu to attack them once more, but Pikachu wasn't pleased with what it's doing and so leapt off Naruto's arms and fired a powerful thundershock to send it plummeting to the grassy ground. Good job, Pikachu. Now let's get out of here before it. Naruto heard the wounded Spearow screech loudly. Then there were the sounds of many wing flapping and Naruto turned to see a flock of Spearow heading straight for them. Darn it! It's called for its flock. We gotta get away from here. Pikachu nodded in agreement before running alongside his trainer as they tried to get away from their feathered pursuers. Naruto would bat away any of the Spearow which would attempt to attack him or Pikachu but couldn't push away all of them and got pecked by their sharp beaks. Only of the Spearow managed to land a powerful tackle attack on Pikachu to send him tumbling to the ground. Oh no, Pikachu! Naruto scooped his partner up in his arms and ran as fast as he could. Hang in there, buddy. The duo ended up at the edge of a cliff with Naruto's mind racing on what to do next and came up with an insane conclusion. I need you to hold on tight to me, Pikachu. We're gonna try to lose these guys by jumping into the river below. Pai-ka! Pikachu responded weakly. Naruto took a few steps back, then he dashed forward and leapt off the edge and splashed into the river below feet first, then proceeded to kick his legs rapidly to rise up to the surface. He finally broke through the surface and swam to the stony edge and coughed a few times. We made it. Sure hope that we lost those flock of Spearow. Then he heard the all too familiar sound of wings flapping. Oh, come on. Can't they give up already? Naruto got up and took off running once more as the dark clouds gathered in the skies above with the sound of thunder and lightning flashing. Then it proceeded to rain all around. The blonde found it hard to see through the rain. Mud made his balance unsteady, and his body screamed in pain from the strain of running and damage from the Spearow's attacks. His foot suddenly slipped and Naruto fell to the ground and Pikachu tumbled out of his hands. He struggled to his knees and saw Pikachu trying to crawl back to him while the flock flew about with the look of menace. Naruto couldn't believe that something like this is happening. Being attacked because of some wild Pokemon's jealousy, it made him feel very angry, and the target of that anger are flying above. Naruto got to his feet with the front bangs of his hair hiding his eyes. We were just minding our own business and made a new friend when one of you bird brains attacked us out of stupid jealousy, which forced us to defend ourselves. Blue aura began to radiate from his body, which Pikachu seemed to have noticed and was surprised. Then you all joined up to chase and hurt us for that dumb sense of reasoning. That is really enraging me. Which is why I have every good reason to say this. Naruto raised his head to reveal his glowing blue eyes. Get out of my sight! As he roared out, the blue aura burst out from his body in the form of a massive explosion. The powerful aura slammed into the Spearow flock and sent them flying far away. The aura finally receded into Naruto's body, which left him seriously fatigued as he collapsed to the ground and fell unconscious. Pika Pai! Pikachu crawled over to Naruto and pressed his head against his trainer's to wake him up, but to no avail, although felt relieved to see that he was breathing and soon fell unconscious as well. Sometime later, there were the sound of footsteps and a black cloaked figure approached the duo, then looked down at them as if contemplating of what to do next. Then it bent down and pressed a finger on the boy's forehead, resulting in a bright flash of light. Naruto let out a small groan, then opened his eyes to find himself floating in some sort of white space with no end in sight. What's going on? Where the heck am I? Where's Pikachu? He looked around, growing more confused by the second. Then a voice spoke up from behind him. You're currently inside your mind while your body is recovering from what you and your little buddy has gone through. Naruto turned round to see a cloaked figure floating before. Who are you? Asked Naruto. The figure pulled back on the hood to reveal a face which the blonde had the inkling that he has met the person from somewhere. I'm a friend. Though it's been a while since we last met. Suddenly it all clicked together for Naruto. Hang on. Is that you, Kuro? The Ravenet smirked in response, in the mental flesh so to speak. Been waiting for this moment when we would met again. What do you mean? Asked Naruto confusedly. You may not have noticed, but you used your aura for the first time to drive away the Spearow flock before blacking out, which is really something, as you have the largest amount I've ever seen anyone possess, said Kuro. Aura? Isn't that the energy that Pokémon like Riolu and Lucario manipulate in and out of battles? Asked Naruto. Pretty much yes, though aura is a form of spiritual energy and is described as the essence of every living creature, including humans. There are also certain people capable of manipulating aura, and they're called aura guardians. Aura guardians? Asked Naruto. Kuro nodded in affirmation. Aura guardians traveled around doing good deeds for both people and Pokémon, and passed on their skills to those who also possessed this innate ability. The aura guardians disappeared from history, for some undisclosed reason, a long time before the present era, though there are still a few left scattered about in different parts of the Pokémon world. I'm the very last of a special group of aura guardians. Kuro looked to see that Naruto was paying rapt attention, and so continued. There are a different group of aura guardians that also travel around the world and perform good deeds for both humans and Pokémon. However, they draw strength from the bonds between them and their Pokémon to be able to perform feats far beyond anyone's imagination whilst using the aura to augment their physical abilities. Each member has a unique way of utilizing the power of bonds during their adventures, which is sometimes shared between a certain few. So you're saying that I have the potential to become an aura guardian? But what about my dream of being a Pokémon trainer? Asked Naruto confusedly. It won't get in the way of that, but learning about our ways will definitely help you on your journey to protect yourself and those close to you. I've been watching you, Naruto. You're a natural-born protector, and no doubt you will encounter enemies of both people and Pokémon throughout your journey, which was part of the reason why you had been training yourself, said Kuro. Naruto had to admit that Kuro had a point there. He had learned of people like Pokémon poachers, hunters, thieves, and many others from Professor Oak, which he came to seriously dislike. If what Kuro says is true, then this training as an aura guardian could help him become strong enough to protect his Pokémon and friends. All right, Kuro, I'll take you up on your offer. Teach me to become an aura guardian, said Naruto determinedly. Kuro gave a smile of approval. That's good to hear. I've left a tome as well as special gears in your backpack. They're already attuned to your unique aura and no one can take it from you, plus they'll work well with the ability which you have awakened since it's closely similar to one of my ancestors, Tsukasa Kadoya. I have to get going and look for the aura guardians, but we'll be sure to meet up later on. Thanks, Kuro. By the way, I gave your Pikachu a little pick-me-up, so he should be okay now. Naruto gave him a grateful nod, then they faded away from the mindscape. However, neither of them stayed around long enough to hear a soft growl in the mindscape. Naruto opened his eyes and slowly rose to sit up from the ground. He looked to see that he was lying underneath a tree with his backpack propped up against it, and Pikachu was sleeping next to him with no bruises on his body. Naruto gently prodded Pikachu awake for the mouse Pokemon to open his eyes and yawned loudly. He looked towards Naruto and jumped into his chest and held on tightly. Pika Pie! Pikachu cried out in happiness to see that he was doing okay. I'm glad you're okay too, Pikachu. Really glad? Naruto smiled fondly. Suddenly something appeared in a flash of light, and they turned to see that it was some sort of card floating before them, and it had the image of Pikachu on it. The card floated closer for Naruto to take it and examine closer. I wonder what this is? Could it relate to what Kuro was talking about, relating to an ancestor? Pie! Pikachu looked at his trainer confusedly. What was he talking about? Suddenly the duo heard a screech and stepped away from the tree to see that the clouds had parted to allow rays of sunlight to shine through along with a beautiful rainbow. That was when they saw it. A majestic creature in the form of bird with a golden body and sparkles of light. Naruto and Pikachu watched in wonder as it flew over their heads and into the distance. Then they noticed something sparkling in the air as it descended towards them. Naruto held out the other hand to catch what appears to be a feather with the colors of a rainbow. What kind of Pokemon was that just now? Asked Naruto in wonder. There is no data available. There are still some Pokemon are yet to be identified and researched, said the Pokédex. Amazing. Think this will happen on the very first day of our journey. I can't wait to see what else awaits us in our future, said Naruto excitedly. Pie Pikachu. Pikachu smiled in agreement. He wouldn't have gotten to experience something like this as a wild Pokemon. Let's head over to Viridian City for some recuperation, then we can come up with a plan on what to do next. Naruto pocketed the card and placed the rainbow-colored feather into his backpack at a place it won't get squashed before getting back on the road towards their next destination on a journey through the Pokémon world.